Last chorus for Your Ears Only. I'm David Alpern.
And I'm Catherine Herzog with this news quote. Why did it take so long? Maybe she felt Brooklyn was a hard crowd to please. That was Helen Bernstein of Brooklyn on Barbra Streisand's return to her home borough to perform for the first time since becoming a star in the 1960s. Now this.
The night has 1,000 eyes, and it knows a truthful heart from one that lies.
The Night Has 1,000 Eyes from a 1948 Edward G. Robinson film noir is the title song for a new show by husband and wife singers Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano this week at the Metropolitan Room in New York, a celebration of hearts and truths and small clubs where that kind of song has its most intimate appeal. And to preview the show for Your Ears Only, we're pleased to have Eric and Barbara on the line now. It's Barbara's debut and another encore for Eric, with whom we begin. Eric, welcome back to our show.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Catherine. It's always a joy.
So this is a cabaret show about cabaret in Cabaret Convention Week. What was the inspiration?
We feel that, exactly as you put it, a great, great song like The Night Has 1,000 Eyes that isn't quite a pop standard, though it is a jazz standard, can often be stripped away and presented in its most basic, truthful, intimate way in these kind of rooms that you and I love. And that's what we're kind of celebrating this week. And, of course, it's no coincidence that it coincides with the Mabel Mercer Cabaret Convention. But we've always believed that whether it's the jazz songbook or the pop songbook or some other songbook, works from around the world, it's great song is a great song as long as you present it with a respectful way that favors the truth. And so we're going on both sides of the equation. Barbara is singing a very glamorous, murky Marlene Dietrich song called Illusions. And I'm going to sing The Night Has 1,000 Eyes, and it knows a truthful heart from one that lies. What better in an election year?
You and Barbara are great examples of younger singers keeping the old standards alive, but are you finding younger audience as well in this era of rock and rap, apart from the old-timers like me?
Aha! Not so. Yes, we have a great mix of age groups in our audiences. Obviously, it's easier with an audience that remembers the songs from their youth and that sort of thing, but we're always interested in presenting slightly off the beaten path material too, and so it's new often to everyone. But as you know, David, to know this material is to love it, and we have plenty. We teach a great deal, and we even taught for the Michael Feinstein Initiative for high school kids this year, and they're turned on. We had a girl sing You Can't Get a Man with a Gun, and then follow it with The Party's Over, and break our hearts. She was 14.
Okay, Eric, can we ask you to put Barbara on the line?
Why, certainly. Here she comes.
Hello.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi, David. Hi, Catherine.
Let's get a little personal. Talk about how you two met and how long it took before love at first sight.
Well, it's a classic New York story. I have to preface it by saying that Eric and I were both on a bill for a concert that WBAI, our dear friend David Kenny, who has a program on WBAI, has Everything Old is New Again is his show, and he had a concert. Eric and I were both on that bill. Now this was over. Oh gosh, this was in 1997. So we were just babies, and we were both on that bill, and that was when we met. But absolutely nothing happened. We said hello. We were both otherwise engaged in all kinds of adventures, shall we say. And it wasn't until 2003 that we actually had our first date. Eric called me and asked me out to supper after one of my concerts, and I loved his use of the word supper. I thought that was so romantic. And he and he came down to see a concert of mine, and then took me out. And it was a rainy September night, September 13th. He always refers to it as Mel Torme's birthday, which in Eric Comstock's book is a very auspicious sign. We went out and we had a date, and as we now refer to it, the greatest first date ever, and spent the whole night laughing. And within 6 months, we were engaged, and less than a year later, married.
And how did you start singing together?
That, Catherine, was a total accident, because Eric and I were very much aware that we didn't want to muddy the waters. It really wasn't even a consideration. We fell in love. It had absolutely nothing to do with our work. And before we even got engaged, Eric was hired to do a private party down in St. Croix for a lovely couple. They were having an anniversary, and they brought him down to entertain, and he asked if I wanted to go with him. St. Croix in March, twist my arm, yes, of course. We ended up going down there, and the gentleman whose party it was actually turned out to be a fan of mine and was so happy that I was there, and then asked me if I would do something with Eric, and we very quickly put together 3 or 4 things on the spot. And it was so much fun, and it went over so well. And then it wasn't until actually we had been married an entire year, and the Colony in Palm Beach brought us in to do an engagement there as a couple. And that was the very first time it happened. But it really began because we didn't want to be apart. You know, we were so in love, we were newlyweds, and we didn't want to be separated. So when either of us would get a gig on the road, we would try to insert the other into the gig so that we could be together. And that's sort of how it all began. And then we just enjoyed it, and our fans really loved it. And we found that we brought very different things to the table, you know, and perhaps we were even more interesting together than we thought we would be.
Barbara Fasano and her husband Eric Comstock performed The Night Has 1,000 Eyes, October 15th through the 20th at the Metropolitan Room, 34 West 22nd Street in New York. Now a little of them singing together.
All I did was wonder how your arms would be. And it happened to me.
And this has been For Your Ears Only.